So I recently started my self-study journeys, which I actually came to a realization on in a previous video. So make sure to check that out. And I'm now going to be setting up my curriculum slash timetable slash tracker for this. So I have three subjects. The first one is history, the second is art, and the third is English literature. So for history, I have a book on Kindle that I am currently reading through and taking notes on. For art, I have the practical and theoretical side. So for the theory, I need to find an art history book to study. I do already have an art history book. However, I've tried to read this a few times and I've just found it quite complicated to get into and quite confusing. So I need a very beginner friendly one which I need to research into and find. And then for the practical side, I want to do some art projects that are aligned with the art history that I'm studying, as well as some of my own art projects too. And then for English literature, I'm going to start off with three classic books that I can read, study, and analyze. I do need to decide which books to start off with. I did read some classics when I was younger, but I don't really remember them, so I'm just going to kind of start from scratch. In order to do this, I want to set up a curriculum and a tracker. So for history, it's a bit easier to do. So I'm essentially going to list out all of the chapters within the book that I'm studying, and then I can tick off as I go through them. For art, the practical side, I'm not sure how I'm going to do this in terms of the project. So I'm going to have to figure that out. This is going to be like a work in progress tracker, but I do want to get my first setup of it and also my research and decisions in terms of the art history book and the three classics that I'm going to be starting off with. I also want this to allow me some flexibility in terms of which subjects I'm studying. Initially, I thought I was going to do this project to project. So for example, I thought I would read through the whole history book, take all my notes, do that, and then I would move on to art or English literature. However, I'm realizing that I kind of want to merge them all together and allow myself flexibility each week and each month to do this, especially because the amount of time, energy, and also just which ones I'm going to want to do will adjust. For example, I know in spring and summer, I tend to enjoy my art projects a lot more. So I want to be mindful of this and allow myself to do this. Whereas in winter and autumn, I do prefer to read and kind of take notes. So I want to allow for this. So I'm going to set up this curriculum and then I can figure out which topics, which subjects I will do for each week in each month. And I can kind of look at it and see, okay, this is what I want to do for this month. And then I can tick it off as I move through. Like I said, I do need to do some research as well in terms of what art history book to start off with to help me learn the basics. And then I'm really not sure how to kind of track the projects. I don't want this to turn into like a deadline or something that I'm forcing myself to do. The whole point of this that I've been enjoying so far is the fact that there is no deadline, that I'm just studying subjects that I enjoy because I enjoy them, and I'm doing it for the sake of my enjoyment and because I want to learn these things. So I don't want it to turn into a stressful thing. I just want to make sure that I'm staying accountable and that I know what I've done and what I want to do moving forward. So this is really going to help me to sort that out. This is going to be a work in progress timetable and we're going to see how it goes, but that's what I'm hoping to do over the next few days. Okay, so I have started to set up my tracker for history. It's very much the basics right now, but this is what it looks like. And my plan is to just list out all the chapters and sub chapters and have like a tick box for them so I can work through it that way. And I think this will just be a really nice way to keep it all tracked and together. So I do want to complete that today. I also want to figure out what three books I want as my English literature classic books. I think I want to do Pride and Prejudice. And then initially I realized that The Secret History is classed as a modern classic. And I thought I wanted to do that, but now I'm realizing I don't want to do a modern classic. So I'm going to choose something else. I've read Pride and Prejudice when I was younger. I read Great Gatsby. I read Sense and Sensibility, Wuthering Heights, and a few others, but I don't really remember them, so I'm going to reread them all anyway. I just want to decide on what the third one is, so I'm going to research that a little bit and see what I come up with. Maybe I will find a few options and then I can choose what I'm in the mood for. So I will be doing that. And then in terms of art history, I need to find a book that will be very easy for me to just learn the basics of art history for now, and then I can go into more detailed aspects, things that I enjoy more, things that I want to learn more about once I've done that. But I just need things that aren't too technical, that are quite easy to read through, quite easy to understand, the very basics, because otherwise I get quite overwhelmed with it because there's so much information that I don't know. So I need to find a book that is easy to read and easy to understand for art history. So I'm going to do a little bit of research on that as well. Those are the three things that I want to do tonight. So that's finish the history tracker, that is find an art history book that I can start. I'm probably going to look for one that's available on Kindle because I do like to have them on there. I just find it a lot easier to take notes from. And because of the space on my desk, it's hard to have a large physical book open. And a lot of these books, that history and art history and things, are quite large. So it's hard to have it open and also be able to take notes easily. Whereas it's much easier to have it up on a screen and then take notes. So I do want to find one that's available on Kindle or just like as a PDF. And then, yeah, English literature, I will need to look at the books that I want to do for those. And I will also set up trackers for those subjects as well, but I probably won't do that tonight. I'm just going to set up the history one tonight. I also want to watch some TV. So I'm probably going to watch either Percy Jackson, because I am currently catching up on that, or I'm going to rewatch High School Musical because I really want to watch High School Musical. But then I'm going to want to sing along and I'm going to get distracted. So I'll see what I end up doing. But I do want to do that as well tonight and just relax a little bit. I really want to start an art project. I am going to be looking through and finding some of my A3 sketchbooks, because I remember at school when we were doing art, we would have these A3 sketchbooks and we would create spreads on them and work through those. So I want one that's dedicated to art history and one that's more for my own art project. So I need to look through the ones that I have and see if they're feasible for me to use as a sketchbook, because I know a lot of them, I ripped out a lot of the pages and I did separate pieces on those pages. So a lot of them are like half empty sketchbooks. So that's not going to be enough paper to dedicate a whole project to. But I do want to see what I have, and otherwise I can order some other ones. I also have my smaller sketchbooks, but I will mix and match between. But I think it will be fun to have those A3 sketchbooks ready for me to use. One for my art history projects and one for my own personal, just fun art projects as well. I also want to decorate the covers, the fronts and the backs of those A3 sketchbooks, because we also used to do that at school and I had a lot of fun doing that. I just think it was a really fun way to make it kind of my own. I do have an idea of what I want my first art project to be, and I think it's going to be based on books, specifically the fantasy romantasy genre, because that is my favorite genre to read. If you're new here and you didn't know that, that is my favorite genre to read, and also welcome. But I think that is what I want my first project to be on, and it's just going to be about mythical creatures, about books, probably about fantasy movies as well, and whatever shows I enjoy in that realm. I want to paint and I want to draw and I want to sketch and I want to be a bit crafty with it. And I don't know if I'm going to do like a final piece for each of these projects. I know that's what we used to do at school, and that's kind of how I'm basing all of my projects on, but I don't know if that's something I'm going to do. I'm not really sure what my conclusion is going to be, but I'm definitely going to have a sketchbook that I work through, and then I'll see what I decide on. Maybe I will end up doing a piece, or maybe the final piece will be in the sketchbook, and that will be like an accumulation of all the things that I like, and it will kind of be scrapbooky. I don't know what my style is either, and I don't know if I have a style or if I just mess around and see what happens. But I really, really want to take the time to enjoy this, to have fun with it, to not overwork myself, to not get frustrated that I'm not as good of a sketcher as I want to be or as I used to be, because I haven't practiced in so long. And I just want to have fun and not put so much pressure on it and not worry so much about it, and allow myself to practice and to experiment and to just have fun like I did when I was doing art at school, because that's really what I enjoyed. I mean, I remember sitting for hours just working on my art sketchbook, and it was so much fun, and I just want to bring that back. So I really do hope that I start that soon. I will be starting it soon. I'm just kind of taking a week or two to get everything set up so that I'm ready to really go for it, because I'm just excited to do this. In case you couldn't tell already, I'm very excited to do this. So I will be doing that over the next few days, finding those sketchbooks. And I don't know how I'm going to set up my tracker for the art projects. I'm not really sure what the best way to do that is. I'm going to have to kind of think on that a little bit. But let's get on with completing the history tracker. Okay, so I have in fact managed to update my tracker. I will put like a screenshot or a screen recording on top of this, but essentially I've set it up so I have all of the chapters, all of the sub chapters, and then I have a tick box next to them so I can tick through them. And along each row, I've also got at the end of it like a progress bar. So when I tick every chapter off in that row, it hits 100%. It's just going to be a nice way to have things completed as I work through. It took me a while at the start to type the subchapter names, and then I realized I can say it. What is it called? Not voice note, but you know when you say it and it types it for you. So I was doing that and that sped it up so much. I did finish catching up on Percy Jackson and I started watching High School Musical. So when I started watching High School Musical, I definitely got a bit more distracted and was singing along and all of that. But I did manage to update that tracker in its entirety, and I've already read and started taking notes on the first row. As I was going through the chapters, I realized they touch on art and they also do touch on some Asian history. So that is good to know. I'm definitely going to go into that a little bit more, probably in the next book that I pick up after I've completed this one. But that is set up. And then I had a look at some kind of classic literature books, and these are the options that I have: Pride and Prejudice, Jane Eyre, War and Peace, Wuthering Heights, Sense and Sensibility, Little Women, and Women Who Walk with the Wolves. And the three that I've chosen to start off with are Pride and Prejudice, Jane Eyre, and Sense and Sensibility. I am really excited to do this. I will need to make a tracker for English literature specifically as well. But what I'll do is when I get those three books, then I can list out the chapters. I'm basically going to break it down with just reading the book. Then I can go back, analyze it, study it. I'll probably look at some questions that I could do on the books as well. I think that would be a good way for me to learn English literature. I don't want to do any exam style questions for history because for that I just want to take notes on. And for English literature, doing those kind of things actually helps me learn it. So I do want to do that as well, and I will get that all set up as a separate tracker on another day. I'm not going to do that today. And then I have also found an art history book that I think will be quite good and will help me with learning the basics of art history. So that's also available on Kindle, so I'm going to purchase that and also set up a tracker for that in terms of the chapters. I'm not going to do that tonight either. I have got my history tracker ready. I've chosen the three books and I've chosen the art history book that I want. The next things that I will be doing are setting up trackers for English literature, setting up trackers for art history, and also finding my sketchbook so that's ready to start my art projects. And then I would like to figure out how to kind of track my art projects. That can't be done through chapters, so that might be more of a timing tracker, like spending an hour a week on it, or it might be doing a spread every week or a sketch or a painting. I don't know. I'll see what I do with that. But I like the idea of maybe having each tick box to be a spread that I've done, like an A3 spread on the big sketchbook. I think that might be the way to do it. That way I can really play around with it. But I might want to break it down even more. So I will see how to track my art. But that is all set up and ready. And I am going to finish watching High School Musical 1 and maybe I'll start the next one. But I will catch up with you on another day. Okay, so I have a bit of an update for you. First of all, I do have the art history and the history trackers set up. Now, I did originally set up the history tracker a few nights ago, but I accidentally deleted it. So I duplicated it in order to use it as a base for my art history tracker, and in that process I deleted it, and I only realized that last night when I was looking at my history tracker. So I did have to redo that last night instead of reading, but I do now have my history and my art history tracker set up. History is going to take a little bit longer to get through because it's quite a big book, but when I was looking through the contents, I think it's going to give me a really good base, and I'm then going to be able to choose the subjects and topics that I want to learn more about. But I think the book is going to be really good for me to run through. Art history is a much shorter book and it is available on my Kindle, so I have been reading it on here. The history one is also available on Kindle, but it's a bit difficult to read on here just because of the size of the actual book. So I have only been using the Kindle app on my laptop for that, whereas for art history it's been quite easy to read on actual Kindle as well, which has been great when I'm commuting. And I have been highlighting different bits, but I haven't actually written down the notes yet, so I'm going to do that at some point. But we've gotten started with history and art history. Now, I did look for my A3 sketchbooks and they were broken, or like
parts of the covers had been taken off and I must have used them for some other crafty thing or whatever. So there's still paper in there that I will be using and be able to sketch on, but it won't be like my sketchbook. So I did purchase 2 new ones, which are these, and we're going to have a history and an art history one. I'm not really sure what the art history one is going to be on yet, but the art one I can already start with. I do want to do like the cover of this and decorate that, even if it's just like half decorated and I can finish it off on another day. I do want to do that, and then I want to start using the sketchbook, but that is ready. Then with English, I have Pride and Prejudice on my Kindle, and I did also go and purchase another version of Pride and Prejudice. And I have seen these versions so many times, but I have not picked up any of the classics that are done in this way because I hadn't started reading them yet. But now that I have, I can start making my own collection, and I think the top shelf is going to be my collection for these, which I'm super excited about. One thing that I already like about this book is that we've got a little bit extra information. So we've got a timeline of Jane Austen, we've got some information about the edition. I'm actually reading the introduction now as well, which gives a bit more context to the story and Jane Austen herself. So I'm currently reading that, and then I will get into the actual book as well. I read a chapter of that on my Kindle, but I just want to finish the introduction and things before I get back into the story. I do not want to damage this book, so I will be ordering, first of all, tabs that don't stick out of the book because I think they're going to ruin the look of it, but I do want to tab the book. And then I want to get some post-it notes that are see-through so I can write on those and put them on the book, because I don't want to write on the actual paper, which is what I've been doing with my other books, but I don't want to do that with my classics. Maybe in general moving forward that is how I'll annotate my books, but that's something I definitely want to do for Pride and Prejudice and any more classics that I read. That is something that I will hopefully get in the next few weeks, but I have started this and I am enjoying it. Like I said, I've only read a chapter of the actual story and I'm currently reading the introduction, which I am making my way through. But that is where I'm at with English Lit as well. So I do in fact have, I think, everything set up and ready. I will be starting my actual self-study diaries in the next couple of weeks, and you'll see that soon as well. I'm really excited to do this. I think it's going to be so much fun. I'm excited about all these subjects. I think my priorities are going to be art and English Lit, and then art history and history are going to be a little bit less of a focus, but I'm still excited to do all of them. It's brought me so much joy in my days and in my weeks, just for something to look forward to rather than doom scrolling or watching TV that I don't actually want to watch. So I'm really excited to continue this and make it a really big part of my life, my week. But that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.